Picture this. It's June 9th, 2025, and the entertainment world is about to witness something that will change the game forever. The BET Awards are rolling around again, culture's biggest night, where the hottest names in music, comedy, and entertainment come together to celebrate Black excellence. But this year, something different is brewing behind the scenes, something that nobody saw coming. Something that would bridge two completely different worlds and leave everyone asking, did Kevin Hart really just do that? Now, before we dive into what went down that night, let me paint you the full picture of how we got here. Because this story isn't just about one night at the BET Awards. This is about loyalty, mentorship, and a comedian who saw the future of entertainment before anyone else did. This is about Kevin Hart making a move so bold, so unprecedented, that it literally changed the rules of how award shows operate forever. You see, most people know Kevin Hart as the guy who can fill stadiums with his comedy, the actor who's been in more movies than you can count, the entrepreneur who's built an empire. But what happened at the BET Awards showed us a different side of Kevin Hart. It showed us Kevin Hart the visionary, Kevin Hart the bridge builder, Kevin Hart the man who's willing to put his entire reputation on the line for someone he believes in. And that someone is Cenat, the 23-year-old streaming phenomenon who's taken the internet by storm. Now, if you don't know who Cenat is, let me break it down for you real quick. This young man has built one of the biggest streaming empires on the planet. We're talking about someone who regularly pulls in hundreds of thousands of viewers on Twitch, someone who's collaborated with Drake, someone who's become the voice of a generation that lives and breathes digital content. But here's the thing about Kai. He's not just a streamer. He's a cultural force. When he goes live, the internet stops. When he makes a move, millions of people pay attention. He's got this raw, authentic energy that can't be manufactured, can't be scripted, can't be replicated. He's the real deal. And Kevin Hart saw that before most people in traditional entertainment even knew who he was. The relationship between Kevin Hart and Cenat didn't happen overnight. These two have been building something special for months. Hart has been on Kai's stream multiple times. They've had sleepovers. Yes, you heard that right, sleepovers. At Kai's house, they've shared Thanksgiving dinner together. This isn't just a business relationship. This is genuine friendship, genuine brotherhood, genuine respect between two entertainers who understand each other's hustle. But even with all that history, nobody could have predicted what Kevin Hart was about to do when BET came calling for him to host their biggest night of the year. Now, hosting the BET Awards is a big deal, like a really big deal. This isn't just any award show. This is the show that celebrates Black culture, Black excellence, Black creativity. When they ask you to host the BET Awards, you don't just say yes, you say yes with your whole chest, because you know you're about to be part of something legendary. Kevin Hart has hosted the BET Awards before. He knows the pressure, he knows the expectations, he knows what it takes to deliver a show that people will be talking about for years. But when BET approached him to host the 2025 show, Hart had something different in mind. He wasn't just thinking about himself. He was thinking about the future. He was thinking about evolution. He was thinking about his little brother, Cenat. And that's when Kevin Hart made a decision that would literally shake the entertainment industry to its core. Behind closed doors, in those high-level meetings where million-dollar decisions get made, Kevin Hart looked the BET executives in the eye and said something that nobody expected. He said, "I'm not hosting if Kai can't come back and stream." Think about that for a second. Kevin Hart, one of the biggest names in comedy, one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood, basically held the entire BET Awards hostage until they agreed to let a Twitch streamer broadcast their show live to his audience. This wasn't a suggestion. This wasn't a negotiation. This was an ultimatum. Most people would have thought Hart had lost his mind. Award shows don't work like that. You don't just let random people stream your content. There are broadcast rights to consider. There are sponsors to think about. There are legal complications that could tie things up for years. But Kevin Hart didn't care about any of that. He saw an opportunity to make history, and he wasn't going to let it slip away. Now imagine being in that room when Hart dropped that bombshell. Picture the faces of those BT executives when one of their biggest stars basically said, "It's my way or the highway." Some of them probably thought he was joking. Others probably started calculating how much money they'd lose if Kevin Hart walked away. But Hart wasn't backing down. This wasn't about money for him. This was about something bigger. You see, Kevin Hart understood something that most people in traditional entertainment are still trying to figure out. He understood that the future of entertainment isn't just about television anymore. It's not just about putting on a show and hoping people tune in. The future is about engagement. It's about interaction. It's about meeting your audience where they are. And where millions of young people are is on streaming platforms, watching creators like Cenat. Hart knew that by bringing Kai to the BET Awards, he wasn't just doing a favor for his friend. He was bridging two worlds. He was showing traditional entertainment how to evolve. He was proving that streamers deserve a seat at the table, not just as guests, but as equals. But Bet's executives weren't stupid either. They knew what Kevin Hart brings to the table. They knew his hosting skills. They knew his draw. They knew that a Kevin Hart-hosted BET Awards was going to be special. So after probably the most intense conference call in BET history, they made a decision that would change everything. They said yes. But Hart wasn't done. Oh no, he was just getting started. Because getting Kai access to stream was just the beginning. Hart had bigger plans. He wasn't just going to let Kai sit in the audience with his phone. No, he was going to make Kai part of the show itself. Fast forward to June 9th, 2025, the night of the BET Awards. The Peacock Theater in Los Angeles is buzzing with energy. All the biggest names in entertainment are rolling up, looking fresh, ready to celebrate another year of black excellence. But there's an electricity in the air that feels different from previous years. People are whispering, wondering what Kevin Hart has up his sleeve. And then Cenat walks through those doors. Now, Kai didn't just show up to the BET Awards. Kai showed up to the BET Awards with full streaming access, full backstage privileges, full everything. Thanks to Kevin Hart's ultimatum, Kai had the keys to the kingdom. He could go anywhere, stream anything, talk to anyone. This was unprecedented. This had never happened before in the history of award shows. From the moment Kai stepped onto that red carpet, magic started happening. While other celebrities were doing the typical red carpet routine, pose for photos, give quick interviews, wave to fans, Kai was creating content in real time. He was streaming live to hundreds of thousands of viewers, bringing them inside the BET Awards in a way that had never been done before. His chat was going absolutely crazy. Comments were flying by so fast you could barely read them. People were losing their minds because they were getting an inside look at one of entertainment's biggest nights. Unfiltered, unscripted, completely raw. This wasn't some polished network broadcast. This was Kai being Kai, and that's exactly what made it so special. But the real magic happened when Kevin Hart and Kai reconnected inside the venue. The moment these two saw each other, you could feel the love. You could feel the brotherhood. You could feel the mutual respect. Hart immediately jumped into Kai's stream, showing off his waves, playing to the camera like he'd been streaming for years. The chat exploded with wavy heart comments and laughing emojis. These two weren't just friends. They were collaborators creating something beautiful in real time. And then Hart took Kai backstage to his green room, and that's when things got really wild. Picture this. Kevin Hart's green room at the BET Awards is basically a luxury suite. We're talking plush couches, perfect lighting, gourmet snacks, a fully stocked fridge, the works. When Kai and Druski walked in, they couldn't believe their eyes. Kai started screaming about how the chairs were too soft for normal people, while Druski immediately made himself at home like he owned the place. They were dancing, they were exploring every corner of the room, they were making jokes about Kevin having green rooms on every floor of the building. Druski even declared it his second home, while Kai was giving his viewers a tour like he was showing off a mansion. And then Kevin Hart walked in on this beautiful chaos, seeing his friends completely comfortable in his space, and you could tell this was exactly what he wanted. This wasn't just about giving Kai access to stream, this was about family. This was about Hart showing Kai that he belonged in these spaces, that he had earned his place at the table, that the traditional entertainment world needed to make room for the new generation of creators. But Hart wasn't finished making statements. When it came time to introduce Playboy Carti's performance, Hart could have brought out any number of A-list celebrities to do the honors. Instead, he brought out Cenat and Druski. On the main stage of the BET Awards, in front of millions of viewers, Kevin Hart put his friends center stage. And that's when Hart delivered a moment that will be remembered forever. Standing there with Kai and Druski, Hart looked out at the audience and said, "I brought them out here for a reason. I'm setting them up to potentially host this show in the future." Let that sink in for a moment. Kevin Hart wasn't just giving his friends a moment to shine. He was publicly declaring that he saw them as his successors, that he was actively grooming them to take over one of entertainment's biggest stages. This was mentorship at the highest level, played out in front of the entire entertainment industry. But Hart wasn't done teaching. With the entire BET Awards audience watching, Hart started giving Kai and Druski a masterclass in professionalism. "You gotta know how to act when you're on this kind of stage," Hart told them. "This is an award show. This stage, it's not a joke, it's real." His tone was playful, but his message was profound. Hart was using this moment to show Kai and Druski, and everyone watching, that there's a difference between internet fame and mainstream success. That if you want to play in the big leagues, you have to be ready to adapt. You have to be ready to grow. You have to be ready to be professional. "You can't take this lightly," Hart continued. "People are watching. This ain't your living room. You want this job in the future? Then act like it." This wasn't Hart being harsh. This was Hart being real. This was a veteran showing the young guns what it takes to succeed at the highest level. And Kai and Druski were listening. They were learning. They were absorbing every word. But the most powerful moment came when Hart revealed exactly what he had done to get Kai there. Standing backstage, surrounded by cameras and streaming live to Kai's massive audience, Hart dropped the bomb that left everyone speechless. "You've operated on a streaming level, and we're merging the gap between streamer and stardom," Hart said, looking directly at Kai. "We're showing why streamers can be and should be deemed to be the next generation. I'm acting as your bridge. Don't go out here and mess it up." And then came the revelation that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. "Kai, do y'all know what I pulled to get y'all to do this? I literally said I'm not hosting if Kai cannot come back and stream." The room went silent. Chat went absolutely insane. Social media exploded. Because in that moment, everyone realized what Kevin Hart had actually done. He hadn't just invited his friend to an award show. He had literally put his entire hosting gig on the line to make sure Cenat could be there. Think about the power of that statement. Kevin Hart, at the peak of his career, was willing to walk away from one of entertainment's biggest stages unless they made room for a 23-year-old Twitch streamer. This wasn't just friendship. This was revolution. Hart continued, "I'm acting as your bridge. This ain't for me to shine. This is for y'all to shine, so I'ma step back. I'ma let y'all put on." And that's exactly what he did. Throughout the entire night, Kevin Hart used his platform, his influence, his connections to elevate Cenat. Every opportunity Hart had to shine the spotlight on himself, he instead turned it toward his young friend. Every moment Hart could have claimed for himself, he shared with Kai. The impact was immediate and undeniable. Kai's stream during the BET Awards became one of the most watched live streams in Twitch history. His behind-the-scenes content went viral across every social media platform. Clips of his interactions with celebrities like Kendrick Lamar, SZA, and Kirk Franklin were shared millions of times. But beyond the numbers, beyond the viral moments, beyond the social media buzz, something deeper was happening. Kevin Hart was literally changing the game. He was showing the entertainment industry that the future isn't about keeping old and new media separate. The future is about integration, collaboration, evolution. By the end of the night, everyone was talking about what Kevin Hart had done, not just the comedy, not just the hosting, but the way he had elevated Cenat, the way he had used his platform to bridge worlds, the way he had shown what real mentorship looks like. Industry insiders were calling it revolutionary. Social media was calling it inspiring. Kai's fans were calling it life-changing. Because they had watched their favorite streamer get treated not as a novelty or a gimmick, but as an equal, as family, as the future. The ripple effects are still being felt throughout the entertainment industry. Other award shows are now looking at how they can incorporate streaming creators. Networks are reconsidering how they approach digital talent. The entire paradigm of what constitutes mainstream entertainment is shifting. And it all started with Kevin Hart making one simple ultimatum. But perhaps the most beautiful part of this entire story is what it says about Kevin Hart as a person. In an industry known for egos, for competition, for people stepping on each other to get ahead, Hart chose a different path. He chose to lift others up. He chose to share his spotlight. He chose to use his influence not just for his own benefit, but to create opportunities for the next generation. Hart could have hosted the BET Awards and taken all the glory for himself. He could have delivered his monologue, presented his awards and called it a night. Instead, he used every moment as an opportunity to elevate someone else. That's not just good friendship, that's exceptional character. And the way Hart talked about Kai throughout the night showed just how genuine this relationship is. This wasn't a publicity stunt. This wasn't a calculated move to appeal to younger audiences. This was a veteran entertainer recognizing raw talent and doing everything in his power to help that talent reach its full potential. "I'm setting them up to potentially host this show in the future," Hart had said on stage. And based on Kai's performance that night, based on his natural charisma, his ability to connect with people, his comfort in high-pressure situations, it's not hard to imagine that prophecy coming true. Cenat hosting the BET Awards might have seemed impossible just a few years ago, but after what Kevin Hart did, after the bridge he built, after the precedent he set, it doesn't seem impossible anymore. It seems inevitable. The 2025 BET Awards will be remembered for many things. Mariah Carey receiving her first BET Award, Lil Wayne's performance, the tribute to Jamie Foxx. But the moment that will define the show, the moment that will be talked about for years to come, is what Kevin Hart did for Cenat. He didn't just give his friend access to an award show. He gave his friend access to a new level of respect, a new level of opportunity, a new level of possibility. He showed the entertainment industry that the future isn't about choosing between traditional and digital media. It's about bringing them together. And that's why what Kevin Hart did left everyone speechless. Not because it was unexpected, but because it was unprecedented. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was authentic. Not because it was calculated, but because it was genuine. In a world where success often comes at the expense of others, Kevin Hart chose to share his success. In an industry where veterans often see young talent as a threat, Hart chose to see Kai as an opportunity. In a moment where he could have claimed all the spotlight for himself, Hart chose to share it. That's what real leadership looks like. That's what real friendship looks like. That's what real change looks like. The entertainment industry is evolving, whether traditional players want it to or not. The question isn't whether streaming creators will become mainstream. They already are mainstream. The question is whether traditional entertainment will evolve with them or get left behind. Kevin Hart answered that question definitively at the 2025 BET Awards. He showed that evolution doesn't have to mean replacement. Integration doesn't have to mean elimination. The future doesn't have to mean abandoning the past. Instead, Hart showed us a path forward where experience mentors innovation, where tradition embraces change, where established stars lift up emerging voices. He showed us that the best way to stay relevant isn't to fight the future, it's to help shape it. What Kevin Hart did for Cenat at the BET Awards was more than just a friendly gesture. It was a statement about the kind of entertainment industry he wants to see. It was a declaration that success is better when it's shared. It was proof that the biggest moves aren't always about advancing yourself. Sometimes they're about advancing others. And as we look toward the future of entertainment, as we watch the continued rise of streaming creators, as we see the ongoing evolution of how we consume content, we'll remember the night Kevin Hart chose to be a bridge instead of a barrier. The night he chose to be a mentor instead of a competitor. The night he chose to change the game forever. That's what left everyone speechless. Not just what Hart did, but what it represented. It's our new era of collaboration, elevation and authentic connection between different generations and different mediums of entertainment. So the next time you see Kevin Hart on stage, remember what he did for Cenat. Remember that real power isn't about what you can do for yourself, it's about what you can do for others. Remember that the biggest moves aren't always the loudest ones. Sometimes they're the ones that lift other people up. And if you're a creator, if you're grinding, if you're building something from nothing, remember that there are people like Kevin Hart out there who see your potential even when others don't. People who are willing to put their reputation on the line to give you a chance. People who understand that the future of entertainment is bigger than any one person. That's the real lesson from what happened at the 2025 BET Awards. That's why it left everyone speechless. And that's why we'll be talking about it for years to come. What Kevin Hart did for Cenat wasn't just about streaming access or stage time or viral moments. It was about recognition, respect, and responsibility. The recognition that talent comes in many forms, the respect that every creator deserves, and the responsibility that successful people have to lift others up. If that doesn't inspire you to chase your dreams, to support your friends, to use whatever platform you have to elevate others, then I don't know what will. Because that's what real success looks like. That's what real friendship looks like. And that's what the future of entertainment looks like when we choose collaboration over competition. Kevin Hart didn't just host the BET Awards that night. He changed the entire game. And he did it all for his little brother, Cenat. Now that's what you call leaving everyone speechless.